Welcome back to No Agenda or No Agendas, the football podcast like no other, the debate show like no other. You know what we do? We contradict the title, we run our agendas. The difference here is we have good substance, good logic, good arguments to back up our points of view. That's what we're about here. Shout out to everybody watching. Make sure you smash the like button. Johnny's going to be joining us soon. What I want to do, rundown for the show today. Ten Hag wants the Man United to be a transition team. So we're going to get into that. And I'm going to do some breakdown. I don't know how deep down the rabbit hole I'm going to go, but I've got some breakdown I want to do from Scout. I've did some research into things. Some misconceptions I want to clear up about that. Then we'll discuss that with the panel. We are going to be talking Harry Kane. At some point, I want to unpack the Onana deal because there's some really important information about how Man United operated in that deal, which is really, really interesting. Great read from David Well in the Athletic. Then to end the show, we're going to be doing a player stock list. Yeah, buy, sell, liquidate. Those are going to be the options. Havertz, Declan Rice, Sancho, Anthony, a few players like that in there. So we'll wrap up the show doing that. Johnny's back now, so I'll just add Johnny back to the stream. How are you guys doing, though? You guys good?
Yeah, I'll
Can you hear, first of all, can you hear me all right now? Is it better?
Yeah, we can hear you.
No more echo, no?
Yeah, no more echo. See, it seems fine.
Good. Cool. All right, cool. So Eric Ten Hag said Man United want to be the best transition team. I was just riling up Baller FC, right? I'll post a photo of Bruno, what do you call it? Bruno, Casemiro and Mount saying Baller FC in the mud. But it's really just jokes. It's really just jabs. Let's be serious about this. I want to share something with people. So, in fact, let me put this in presentation mode and then if I will do it this way. So, as many people know, Man United were sort of number one in the Premier League, right, for counter-attacks last season. But this is the thing that people kind of miss, right? When this goes full screen, you'll see what I mean. So we scored 10 goals from counter-attacks, according to the Premier League. It might be more on other platforms, like the Premier League platform. You can see who the goal scorers were. 3 for Rashford, 2 for Sancho, then spread out pretty nice between the other players. 1 for Anthony, Martial, Eriksen, Garnacho, Ronaldo as an example. Now, you can see the direction we're attacking. Do you see, obviously the circle represents where we won the ball back. Do you see a lot of, do you see a deep line? Do you see us winning the ball back here to counter-attack? No, the concentration is here, in the center of the pitch. Because when people hear transition, they think deep line, Jose style, Conte style counter-attack. No, actually, we've actually been winning the ball in good, like relatively high up the pitch to score a lot of our counter-attacking goals. I'm going to get into some examples, but where I want to start with this. Ten Hag's pressing scheme, right? His wide players end up very narrow. Some people will look at it and say they don't know what they're doing or they're getting their approach wrong, their positioning wrong. Ultimately, over 90 minutes, it's unavoidable. They're going to end up too narrow. And Ten Hag recognizes this. When we beat City, you see here, Bruno can't get over. So Casemiro was tasked with covering that space, right? If the wide player gets too narrow and can't cover the fullback when the player is switched, Casemiro will cover that space. But of course, what happens here is we end up dropping deep. Varane and Casemiro actually dealt with this well in that game. But what Ten Hag wants to transition to, and I'll show you guys exactly, you'll see this like, as soon as I share this, he wants to be able to, rather than have Casemiro cover, right, and Man United drop deep, he's going to want us to actually step up and do that higher up the pitch. So as you see in this example here,
I can barely see that, Dan.
I'll make it bigger for you. You'll see in this example here, right? You'll notice again, Anthony and Rashford very narrow. That's just his scheme. That's how he presses, right? But what he wants is, one, to set a trap so you win the ball back, right? So you force the opposition back. Let me scroll through. Apologies. Right? But if you look at it now, because we're doing this higher up the pitch, Casemiro stepping up to defend. See Casemiro there? You see the difference? Right? Rather than having Casemiro drop between the back four to cover running behind, if we can do that higher up the football pitch, Casemiro stepping up to intercept passes. Right? It's no different. The goalkeeper here is just going over our defence to switch the play, as opposed to the City example. Difference is we're pressing higher so Casemiro can step up. But as I was saying before, we're number 1 in the league for transitions, right? For scoring goals from counter-attacks. And I'm just going to share a few examples. I'm not going to get into this in great detail. So this is against Everton, right? And what I like here is when we lose the football, if Bruno doesn't recover, so recovery is important. If he doesn't recover,
It was highlighted there, Daniel.
that's Bruno Fernandes.
Okay.
So if he doesn't recover, right, Idris would have been able to switch the play to Damani Gray, and he's got a 1-1 with Eriksen, right? Because we're in our build-up structure. Eriksen's gone to the right centre-back position. Dallow's now in midfield, right? Shout out to anyone who plays FIFA, by the way, and presses on a bad touch. Anyone who plays FIFA knows that.
Same. That's how I press on FIFA. That's how I press. I wait for the touch. Always, every time.
FIFA settings. Idris has a bad touch. Bruno capitalizes.
Yeah,
and then we break away and we score on the counter. Anthony scores, but Bruno has to recover first. You can see it now. If he doesn't recover to that space, that passing lane's open. And
when you say recover, do you just mean get back?
Yeah, recovery is just. I'm just talking about Bruno recovering. So you recover back into a good shape.
Yeah,
he has a bad touch. We capitalize. Bang, we go. I'll get into another one here. So this one will be. It's probably my favorite one of the season, actually. Right, against Fulham, for example. So our lines are broken. Same thing. If Rashford, he's not pressing with the most. He's not recovering. He's not tracking back. Let's say tracking back instead of recovering. He's not tracking back with the most intensity. But because he is and his presence is there, Paulinho's not going to open his body up and go to the left wing where a player is free. Right? It's just common sense. So he's sending him into Casemiro, is harrying him. And that's how we win the football back in that zone. Right? And then this goal, by the way, is a brilliant goal. Right?
Who's sorry, I was going to ask who was that on this side of the pitch just then?
Winning the ball back.
Who won that? Who was
Casemiro,
that? Who's this?
Casemiro.
Who's this now here? At the bottom of the screen, is that?
Oh, at the bottom of the screen, that's Luke Shaw. What, at left back?
Yeah, that is that deliberate that he wants Bruno and Luke Shaw to have that space? Is that like a trap? Is that in case the ball moves?
The trap's here. The trap is here. You sent them central. Our lines have been broken, but when you recover and you squeeze, your midfield in a position.
So is Rashford
step up and defend.
Right top of the screen then?
No, Rashford's highlighted here.
Highlighted. Yeah.
If Rashford does not recover, it affects what Casemiro can do. Right, Paulinho could easily just go to the left flank. If I leave it and you look at my cursor, imagine Rashford's not here. Right, he's just going to go to the left flank. It's no different than the first example. Right, if Bruno doesn't recover here, then the switch out wide is just available. Right, it's just easy. That's why it's important players track back quickly. In that 3-5 seconds, you've got to track back quickly. I'll get into one more example. Against who is this against? This would be against Leicester.
I don't know how the fuck you spot it. Excuse my language. Spot this live player.
We'll look at this one here quickly. So similar principles as well. I didn't get into it before, but 3-2. You can see we're blocking through the middle. Yep. They're not going to play through the middle here. We send them out wide. They recycle. Right. And then, by the way, I'll get back to this, and I'll get back to that in a second. But this is another thing that he wants: his centre back stepping up. When your lines are broken, somebody has to step out. He doesn't want people dropping off. This will talk about defending on the front foot, right? You need your centre back or your full back to step out if passing lanes ain't blocked. So you may look at this and think Rashford, right, is in the wrong position. And I've heard some people, they'll look at examples like this and try to say that.
Where's Rashford there?
Wait. But like I said before, right, I just want to show you from a different angle. Right, Ten Hag knows that the wide player can't always cover two people. If I switch between this for 90 minutes, your wide player can't always press that ball. And then you look, when you see here, now you see why Rashford has to be careful, right? Rashford can't cover two players all of the time, right? And Shaw can't step up because he's got a man to mark here. So the only way to solve that problem of your lines being broken is for your centre-back to step out. Right, and that's what we saw with. If I go backwards, apologies. When I make the screen smaller, it's hard for me to scroll through.
And that's why it's important for
Martinez to step up.
And that in a sense too, for Martinez to step up into that space could be interpreted as a trap because you got your back to goal and a player can rush you and you're relying on your teammates to let you know that you have a man on you before you get squeezed. So
Because something you'll see often is they will hold this position, right? The forward players, they'll hold a high position. So if I watch Rashford here, like he can't, there's no point him dropping off. The structure's not built that way. The structure's designed, if space is left, someone steps up to fill it and win the football back. I'll scroll through these other ones quickly. I'm not gonna analyze these too deeply.
So Daniel, like, if we see like line breaking passes into our sort of area, should I be like looking for our centre backs to be stepping up?
In the right situation, yes. I'm just gonna go through the goals that we scored from counter attacks this season quickly. So this is the one against Chelsea. You can see where Bruno's won it. He's won it high up the pitch, right? So Man United haven't become number one for counter-attacking goals in the Premier League from sitting in the low block. I've got the examples. I always say to people, you can give me your opinion. I'll go to the facts. I don't know why audio's coming through. Audio shouldn't be coming through. Let me mute this. Don't want to get copyrighted. You see here, this is just the recovery. So even though on a graphic, right, that will look like you'll see a dot close to the edge of the box, you'd assume it's a low block situation. It's not. Wolves have gone long. It's just a recovery, quick recovery, and then we're counter-attacking and we're scoring, right? I'll get into the other example. I just want people to see these so there can be no doubt left that we haven't become the number one counter-attacking team in the Premier League from sitting in low blocks. This is a low block situation. This is one of the few. This is the first one you've seen us in a low block go into counter, right? And we're on number 6. Brilliant finish by Rashford as well. I'll get to the next one.
Danny, just a quick one. How many do you think Ten Hag is encouraging him to set trap after trap?
Yeah, of course.
So if the first trap doesn't work, is he encouraging him to set another one straight away? Set the next one straight away until it works?
Of course he is. And again, I'm not even going into the analysis. I'm just showing people where we're winning the football back. So here. So now you see Sabitzer, right? Ball breaks. There's a gap.
Yeah, poor touch. Sabitzer steps up. Yeah,
steps up, right?
Steps up, yeah.
So you see what I was referring to before. Look where he's winning the ball. We're not in a low block to counter here, right?
You got an overload on the right side immediately. Yep.
Show me where's the low block? Long kick from Leicester's goalkeeper. Where's the low block? Where's the low block to counter? You've only seen one against Tottenham.
That looks like a mid block to me.
Yeah, it was just a long kick from their goalkeeper. You go this one against Brighton.
And that's going to get higher with going to get higher with Onana in goals. That's going to get much higher than that.
I haven't put no graphics. I've got it in another playlist, but I'm not going to put the graphics here. So if you remember, in the first half against Brighton, the back four was dropping off. In the second half, I've spoken about this in Spaces a lot, Johnny. From the first minute in the second half, I noticed this. Look where Dalot is now. Do you remember that game, Johnny, or anyone, Brian, Jimmy, when Brighton will switch to play, and what's his name? I forgot his name now. Their left-footed player will just have nothing but space, and you see Dalot backing off. Don't know if you remember that happening in the first half, but here's the difference: Dalot steps out. Our lines are broken between because Rashford and Eriksen actually got confused. Calling me, so there was a distraction there. But here you see Luke Shaw has to step out, has to try to win.
Yeah.
Absolutely critical that he does that. Steps out. Right? But again, we go and we score from this. In case anybody forgot. Yeah. We go and we score. Oh no, we didn't score. Apologies, that one shouldn't be in there. That means I've got 11 in here. And it should be... I messed up my order. Apologies. This one we score from. That one shouldn't have been in there. But here you see again, Casemiro. You see where he's winning the football. Right? We've lost the football. We lose it. And then within a few seconds, Casemiro wins it back. That's the assist for Ronaldo. We go and we score.
This wins it back. He wins it back with the first trap. That's good. That was good, man.
Yeah, I'm not even going to get into that one. So I'm just going to go back to this very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. And then we'll discuss. So, yeah, this is the reality, right? 10 goals scored from counter-attacks in the Premier League, number one in the league. If we start thinking about, the Europa League, then you're going to see Fred winning the ball back here against Barcelona as an example. That will show up here. Is what I'm saying to you. So this idea that, we're in a low block, or it's because of that tweet that came out about us having the deepest line. You see rival fans using that against us. The reality is the concentration is here, in the middle of the pitch, in the centre of the pitch, in the middle third. This is mostly where we run the football back to score goals from counter-attacks. And so when Ten Hag talks about being the best transition team, he wants to do this more, but we want to see more of it in the final third, right? Not just winning the ball back, but because this is winning it back to, score goals. We want to score more goals by winning the ball higher up the football pitch. And of course, there are aspects to, and don't get me wrong, there's another aspect to this about playing with the football that's linked to transitions, but we're not going to get into that today. I just wanted to dispel that myth about us being this, it's a low block situation that allows us to counter-attack. That's not true. Not true. You guys give me your thoughts on it and then we'll get on to the next topic.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm always intrigued the way, when you stop the game and you pause it and you look at players' positionings properly. I think I'm always impressed by like these, because a lot of these players, they haven't all played together for a very long time. So I think they're doing a good job of learning these very intricate tactics where, being able to set trap after trap after trap takes a team that knows what they're doing. So I can't say I see anything bad in how they set up. Even when we're not playing well, I think we do the intricate details quite well. I really do. I believe that the players are responding quite well. So I'm happy with what I've seen this season, man. I'm not going to lie. I'm happy with what I've seen this season.
Nice to see. I find it hard to sort of view football like the way Daniel does. Daniel's got a much better, sharper lens than me, and I've got no problem saying that. Some people do.
But Johnny, when Ten Hag said he wants to be the best transition team, what was your initial reaction?
First person that came to my mind was Ole. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I'm not going to sit here and lie. That's like, he wants to be Ole, because we did a lot of transitions in Roy, but transition is not necessarily counter-attack. Just going from one game state to another.
But just read Rachel's comment, which I think that's facts. It's very, very accurate comment.
I also see when someone says transition to me, I
shout out to Rachel, by the way. Good
shout
comment.
out to Rachel, by the way, and everyone. When one thought of all, and two thought speed. Like he wants to do things with speed. That's what transition is to me. But it's nice to see when you look back on replays that you can clearly see the players that they're doing their best in a lot of aspects to carry out the manager's sort of plan and do what they've been taught on the training ground. And I think like for the sort of casual fans like me, casual in terms of like what I see on the pitch versus like, I don't mean this disrespectfully, Daniel, but nerds like you, I don't notice them sort of things just in a 90-minute game because I'm so emotionally charged and like see different things. But it's nice to look back on replay and see that now actually when you break it down, the players are trying to carry out what the manager's taught them at Carrington, so that's pleasing to see.
Yeah.
See, it's funny, isn't it, Johnny? That like because we see these things, but we don't read them as well as people that can kind of be tactically.
Now that Daniel's
you see it, and you might even understand like all these transitions, but actually we can't break it down the way that Daniel breaks it down. I remember a few months ago doing a stream with Daniel, and he showing me the 3-1-6, and I would never have spotted it before, but because he's showing it me now, I do see it a lot more often now than I never saw it before, but I see it now. And now I've seen these little like where the breakers lines and like players are stepping out and stuff. I'll notice it more and more. It's just a steep learning curve.
Brian, I want to give a question to you from Ibs or Ibs, however you pronounce that. He's asking about the Arsenal game and what you thought about the pressing in that game. Did you see the game, Brian?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, give us your thoughts on that.
Man, I thought that United were incredible in the first half. I think that the fact that it's just preseason, but Arsenal took that game seriously.
They keep telling us that.
Well, here's my thing: is like Arsenal took that game seriously because they played their best.
Right, clearly the fans did. See the fans fighting.
I saw that. That's good old American sporting entertainment right there. That's what that is. That's really what that is at the end of the day.
They're hockey fans, really. They're hockey fans. They're ice hockey fans, really.
Before you get into it, Brian, because like I follow like NFL casually. When the NFL season starts on my timeline, I see nothing but fights in the stadium.
Really?
Nothing but fights.
Yeah, it's always
every
week. It's crazy.
Every week. Basketball, not so much. Baseball and NFL fans, them guys always fight.
Well, you want to go to an ice hockey game, Danny?
Yeah.
But Brian, let's just get back to the Arsenal game quickly. Sorry, Johnny. Just let Brian. Johnny.
Brian.
Yeah.
I think one of my things is like, especially on the back of seeing what Danny just showed us, like you saw that happening consistently in the Arsenal game. There was a point leading up to the first goal, leading up to Bruno's goal, where Arsenal couldn't string passes together. United were clearly forcing them to play a certain way that Arsenal didn't want to play, and their midfield was completely ineffective. Their midfield was, Arsenal played their starting midfield in that game against us. They took that game seriously. They wanted to, they wanted to really give their midfield three a run out of Odegaard, Havertz, and Rice. And and they got bullied by our players, all three of them. Rice was completely made ineffective by Mainu. Mainu was drifting everywhere. It was like the minute Man United won the ball back, they were looking to get forward as quickly as possible. There was a point when the game was so open, Arsenal couldn't even get into the game for about a 10-minute period where it was so open. You saw Garnacho had 40, 50 yards of space running down the left, Rashford had tons of space. Bruno, nobody could even step out to him before he took the shot that Ramsdale spilled into the net because they had broken Arsenal down time and time and time. They couldn't get into a rhythm. And that's one of the things about Ten Hag is like, this way of playing is just Ten Hag's version of how he wants to play football. Not everybody has to play Pep's way. Not everybody has to play Arteta's way, because there's always it's a chess match. You have to figure out how you match up best against another team's style of play. Like Arsenal are built to play with more possession. They're built to play with a bit more skill on the ball, whereas United aren't built that way at the moment under Ten Hag. And so he has to figure out how to get the best out of his players. And the best thing is to just disrupt these guys, be physical with them, and then when you get space and opportunity with pace and power, you use it. And I think they did it really well in that first half of the Arsenal game. That's why they were 2-0 up.
Johnny, I'm going to come to you in a second because I've got two questions for you. Jimmy, just give us your thoughts just quickly on the Arsenal game. What stood out to you?
Yeah, I think for me, it was almost disappointing just from a tactical perspective. I just thought they were tactically inept. They just they didn't really do a lot right tactically. So it was disappointing, because I like preseason games to be like a test of kind of the strongest parts of our players' characters, and I just don't think that game gave us that at all. I felt like it was quite tactically quite easy for Manchester United, and I'm not saying that the game was easy, but I'm saying tactically Arsenal didn't really present too much of a tactical challenge. They were all over the place in midfield. I think they were all over the place for the front line. At one point, they played with no striker at all, no false nine even. It looked like they looked like they were playing with just all midfielders and no attackers at one point, and that was for quite a long time. So I think it was tactically disappointing on their part. From our perspective, I think the players couldn't have played a better game. Obviously impressed with the midfielders particularly. I think they were very, very, very disciplined, and they just looked in control throughout the whole game. It was open at times, but you expect that when you're playing against a Premier League team. So yeah, good. I was quite impressed tactically. I didn't see a lot wrong.
Johnny, two questions for you. So give me your general thoughts on the game, and then specifically what you thought about Jadon Sancho in the false nine position.
So the three words I came away from our first half thinking was assured, easy, and comfort from our team. I felt like it looked like our manager had our players for 3 seasons, and it looked like, well, I don't mean to sound disrespectful to Arsenal fans if happens to be watching this, but it looked like Arteta just took over his team yesterday. I just felt United just looked comfortable, and yeah, I was actually shocked how comfortable we looked, especially in defence. I thought our defence was very assured, and at no point in that first half did I feel vulnerable as a United fan, and I kind of expected it to be the other way around. So I'll be dead blunt. I thought Arsenal was shit. I really thought they were piss poor for all this sort of praise they've been given. I thought it was shocking. Again, Jadon Sancho, I'm really impressed by him. He played with confidence. He was playing with confidence. Suddenly, he was playing like he had a Duracell bunny in his back, fucking sprinting. Excuse my language. It just looked. It looked like something like the player that was signed, Daniel. And I definitely think if he can produce a few more performances like that, it's going to give the manager a bit of a headache. But I don't really touch into it because it is only pre-season. and we've seen false storms before. And again, I'm not trying to. Again, this I now sound like I'm getting on the kid's back, but I'm not. I'm just saying, I'm not sold yet. I just need to see more first. But if they can keep producing that, I think they definitely they'll get back into manager's good books, and it'll give the manager a positive headache.
Brian, Sancho false nine. You sold on this idea?
Yeah, that's a great question. Am I sold on it? I'd like to see a little bit more, but my thing is, here's just my honest thoughts, right? If
you did all right. You did all right.
No. Yeah, I'm not. What I'm gonna say isn't negative. It's not what I'm saying isn't negative. Here's my thing: if there are reservations in our eyes as fans on whether or not Jadon Sancho has the acceleration to be able to go one-on-one against fullbacks in the Premier League, then it's up to the manager to figure out how he can get the most out of Jadon Sancho from a physical perspective. And Jadon Sancho in a dead sprint against fullbacks in the Premier League, he might struggle. But Jadon Sancho
that burst was ridiculous, though. That burst was.
But the thing is, Jimmy, he was against center backs. So shifting him in field and using his pace in that position in a dead sprint actually got him in with an opportunity to score goals. So I think that, he's so skilled on the ball, Jadon Sancho. So I mean, the ball stuck to him. He was combative. He battled. I think that he did really, really well in that game. So. And that may be where he has to live, considering the types of competition he's got around him in wide positions right now.
I haven't seen that burst of speed. I haven't seen that burst of speed. I think that's the fastest I've seen Sancho in a United shirt.
Yeah, no. Listen, I've been telling people all of this doesn't have P&P, right? At the end of the day, I've seen Jadon Sancho go up against Alphonso Davies and Alaba in a sprint race. The fact that in the Bundesliga doesn't matter, right? I know how quick he was at Dortmund. Yes, you get a bit older, you fill out your body a little bit, but he's lost too much speed because he needs to work on his core strength and actually maintain peak fitness levels. That acceleration I saw, I know he's got that in him. There's no doubt in my mind he's got that in him. It's whether or not he can maintain it. It's about speed endurance.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you are on the scale for speed, over 10, 15 yards, can you maintain your top speed? Anybody who's ever competed, ran at even a school level, borough level, understands what speed endurance is. Whatever your top speed is, can you carry it over 10 meters?
I think that's Anthony's problem, is that he can't maintain it. He can burst, but he can't maintain it. That's one of Anthony's problems.
Anthony has the same issue, but again, it's something that he has to work on as well. Well, we could discuss that later because Anthony is in the player stock list, which we'll be discussing at the end of the stream. What I would say is this: I'm going to be honest with you guys, right? My concern is that Eric Ten Hag is wasting Jadon Sancho's time. That's my concern. And it's been my concern since Jadon Sancho left the team in November. And I've been trying to tell some of his fanboys, because when you don't paint an optimistic picture, think people will claim you've got an agenda against the player. No, I'm just realistic. I know Anthony, his man on the right wing, and he's got to compete with Garnacho and Rashford on the left wing. So if I don't see the manager giving him 5 games in a row, whether he plays well or not, and every time he's benched, that tells me a lot. I know Anthony can play 4 games in a row. If he has 2 bad games, he'll start the next game. I saw it last season. There was a sequence of matches. I forgot them now off memory. That's it. The West Ham game, he got dropped for that game, if I'm not mistaken. He started the previous 2 games, did okay. Then against West Ham, Bruno's left wing. Sancho should be left wing. Yeah. That's what I'm saying to you. So the manager's been telling me a lot with his team selections in relation to Sancho. So when I see him experimenting in pre-season with a false 9, knowing he wants to get Højlund, he's going to get Højlund, knowing that he'll probably, if Højlund's injured, Marcus Rashford will be the go-to. What's really the point of this experiment? If he's going to commit to this as a plan B, so Rashford stays left wing, Garnacho stays left wing, and if Højlund's injured, it's Sancho false 9, fine. But he's probably not going to. So instead of it allowing him to thrive in one of his more natural positions, left wing or right wing, you've got him playing false 9 in pre-season, then that tells me if we get Højlund, he's going to be on the bench for the first game, because Højlund will be up front and Rashford will be left wing. So what was the point of this experiment? That's my only concern. I don't think he's in the best position to succeed. I've seen him now play left wing, 10 for a brief period, right wing for a brief period. Now we come to pre-season and he's a false 9. it's a bit of an issue for the player. I don't think he's in the best position to succeed.
When we play Dortmund next, I think Dortmund's next game, isn't it? Oh, no, it's Wrexham, isn't it? Wrexham, actually.
Wrexham first. And then I think it's Real Madrid after that.
But I would expect, if this is a real plan that the manager's really thinking about, like, genuinely, I would expect to see Sancho playing false nine for the rest of pre-season so that he can get into that position. If that doesn't happen, then it's just a red herring.
I agree with that. We're going to let's discuss Harry Kane next. And I want to, let me instigate a little bit. Warm up. So, at what cost do Man United get Harry Kane? And the reason why I say that, and I say at what cost, for me, if we can sell players, I think it will help us get Harry Kane. I think they'll find the money. I say that because for me, whether or not we sold players this summer, right? Sold any players this summer, I expect us to spend 200 million by the end of the window anyway, right? Because the Glazers always find the money somehow.
I think so.
So you raise money from sales. So if we get Højlund and we're about 150, and we get some sales, I think it's feasible to think we can find the money for Harry Kane to take our summer spending to 260 mil. So when I say to you,
are you saying you don't think Amrabat is part of any of these deals?
Hold on, Jimmy. I'm getting there. You're
I was thinking about the figures that you mentioned. That's the only reason.
So at what cost do Man United sign Harry Kane? I'm going to go to you first, Jimmy. Would you be happy getting Kane if it meant one Maguire stays, but we don't get a centre-back to obviously compete with Varane because Maguire can't and Lindelof can't really, and we don't get Amrabat? Should we sign Harry Kane if that's how window ends up? Onana, Mount, Kane, Højlund. Would you be happy with that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Because I keep thinking about Kane in the sense of guaranteed results. There's no question about it. When you look at the way that we've been setting up in midfield, for me, I cannot see Harry Kane failing at Manchester United with that midfield. I just cannot see it. I can't see any way in which Harry Kane doesn't get the type of balls that he needs to get to be as productive as he's always been when he's got Mount and Bruno behind him. He's got Sancho playing somewhere on the pitch. He's got Anthony playing somewhere on the pitch. Rashford playing somewhere on the pitch. I don't see how it wouldn't work. There's no way.
So you think, so let's look at it like this, right? So we get Harry Kane, right, at all costs. So that means Wait, let me put some questions to you. So if Casemiro gets injured, that means McTominay's in the lineup. You comfortable with that?
Yeah, do you know what? So this depends again on how we're going to set up. Because when I think of McTominay, obviously I don't think of him being in the same vein as Casemiro.
That's where he plays. No, but last season McTominay played DM before Casemiro came into the team. That's his role in the team. So if we don't get Amrabat because we've blown the rest of the budget after Højlund on Kane, Casemiro gets injured. I think it's feasible with Fred being gone because I'm assuming Fred's leaving.
Yeah, Fred's going. I don't think Fred's going to stay. Yeah,
so you happy with that, or we're gonna have Kobbie Mainoo in there?
Well, Kobbie Mainoo, that's what I was going to say. If Kobbie Mainoo can give me some performances, I don't expect him to play well every time he comes on the pitch. I don't expect him to start games maybe at all this season. But if he can contribute in that position where McTominay starts, so if Casemiro's injured, McTominay plays first half, Mainoo plays second half, I am okay with that. That doesn't bother me because I think it's way more important that we get goals in that team. How many chances did we create last season that we couldn't score because we just don't have goal scorers in the team? So for me, it's way more important. I think the way we perform in midfield has been by and large okay, except that we're not able to get the results up front because we just don't have clinical goal scorers. I think the difference, that the advantage that Harry Kane brings up front outweighs what you would lose in midfield from Casemiro being off. So I think if you put it on a scale, I think you're better off having Harry Kane in the team because you just get better results. Because even if you do lose the midfield battle a little bit, you probably score more goals than the other team. Because I think we play well enough in midfield to be able to compose ourselves as long as we're scoring goals. So I think we would still win more games than we would lose if Harry Kane is in the team, even if we don't get another midfielder. That's absolutely fine for me.
Brian, you agree or disagree?
It's a tough one for me because I feel like one of our biggest struggles this past season. I would like to see our squad thicken out with a bit of quality. And while I agree with Jimmy,
you can't sit on the fence, my friend.
I'm not trying to sit on the fence. I was going to say, while I agree with where Jimmy's coming from, I think I would prefer to not get Kane if it meant that we were able to get more players to cover the squad as a whole. Because, and it's not about
Harry Kane. It's Harry Kane, bro.
Yeah,
It's
look,
Harry Kane.
yeah, and see, this is but see, here's the thing, Jimmy. Just because I said I would prefer to do the opposite doesn't mean that I don't rate Harry Kane. That's not what that means. I obviously rate Harry Kane, but my thing is, we overclock our best players because we have no adequate cover for them. And over the course of a season, if we're trying to go for all for trophies in all competitions, like, our players are naturally going to give out.
But you know the problem, Brian. You know the problem
our players
is
are naturally going to give out.
Well,
So,
I
like,
think
the problem you'll get though is that because the other thing with the Harry Kane situation is I think we're going to get Højlund, and I think if we did have Højlund, I think that actually gives us better bargaining power to Spurs because we just our cards are just going to look a little bit better when we go and negotiate.
It's not about
that. No. But I'm saying the point.
It's the cost. That don't
matter.
But
what I'm saying is, if we can negotiate lower because we've got a striker in the team and we have better cards to negotiate with, because because if we don't get Højlund, we're very desperate to get a striker. We know what Daniel Levy is like when he knows we're desperate.
The premise is we're getting Højlund and we're getting Kane. Even if Kane costs 70 million, your budget's still gone. You're not getting Amrabat and you're not getting.
I know that. I completely understand.
So what Brian is saying, in that scenario, what he's concerned about is we're going to be playing the same 11 and run into the same problems that we faced last season.
Except you're going to have Harry Kane in your team.
So let Brian weigh it up again.
Yeah,
except you have Harry Kane in your team. That's the difference.
Well, Jimmy, first of all, like, I didn't interrupt you when you gave your point, and I disagree with you.
Sorry, I'll stop. I've stopped.
You know what I mean? My whole
it's Harry Kane. That's what I was saying. It's Harry Kane. Sorry.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that I don't rate Harry Kane, but at the same time, one of our biggest issues in the run. See, here's my thing. Despite our issues with goal scoring, we were in a position in the season when the reason we got dragged into a top 4 race was because Erik ten Hag was forced to play players who were clearly on the red line regularly in all competitions because of how far we went in cups, right? And then that resulted, in multiple players getting injured, right? Varane picked up several small knocks. Casemiro was starting to, his energy was starting to go. He was starting to make really poor decisions on the football pitch as a shielding midfielder, which caused him to get suspensions. Right, we lost Lisandro Martinez for the remainder of the season, and we didn't have him in an FA Cup final. Right, so like our players that we rated the highest, the only one who survived it because he's a freak of nature is Bruno Fernandes. He's the only player that survived it. But if Erik ten Hag isn't able to play players that he rates that have a certain level of quality with any regularity, that's why we signed Mason Mount. Mason Mount gives us first team quality in multiple positions on the football pitch. We need more players like that in the team. We need more players like that in the team. If we lose Casemiro because we play him for 90 minutes every game because without him we concede goals and we're forced to play Scott McTominay, that's not a good substitute. We don't even rate him as a fan base. And so other teams aren't going to rate him when they go at him. And it hurts the season overall. So like while I love Harry Kane, I also think that one of our biggest issues is squad depth, but it's rounding the squad out with first team players that can come in, and we don't lose as much when we lose our first choice players. That's the reason for me. I would rather say no to Harry Kane and thicken out the squad a little bit more. It's not adding to the bench; it's adding first team players.
Do you think it's now or never with Harry Kane? Do you not think it's like now or never?
No, because
it can't happen next season.
No, because if it's that deep, we'll just sign him in January on a free. so you know what I mean? Like if it's that deep for him and he wants to leave that bad, then just wait till January. Tell Tottenham you're not going to sign, and then come to United next season for nothing. You know what I mean? Like
Johnny. At what cost should we sign Harry Kane? Are you comfortable, Johnny, getting Harry Kane if it means no Amrabat, so no cover for Casemiro, and Harry Maguire stays? Is it worth it?
Yes. Listen, Kobe, it's time for a baptism of fire. It's fucking time to be a fucking man. Your opportunity's coming. Go swim.
Yes.
That's the first one, right? Secondly,
Send them out.
I am not comfortable with our attack without Harry Kane as it is. I'm not. If you can get Harry Kane, you go get him. It's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer. Go fucking get him. Our season changes. The complexion of our season changes overnight if we sign Harry Kane. I don't care what anyone tells me. Harry Kane's a world-class footballer. Look what he's doing in that Spurs team. Look what he's doing in that Spurs team with I would say, average to good players at best, with managers that don't really know what they're fucking doing all the time, and he's still producing. So you put him into Man United team with much better players. It can only provide positives for Man United and take us to it a lot closer to where we're trying to get to. I think. Listen, fuck McTominay. I'm not bothered about him. My focus would be on Maino.
Why? Why? I mean, why?
Man. I'm sick of these ducky players, man.
Yeah,
Johnny, you can be sick of the player, but if we get Harry Kane, yes, Kobe Maino, like respectfully, I think people are getting a bit too carried away. I'll be honest with you.
I might be.
In the back end of that second half, he actually faded away. Like, he's still a boy. Don't get me wrong, supremely talented, but I don't expect him to start more than say 10 football matches next season across all competitions. Right? Is that enough cover for Casemiro? Probably not. So it's going to be McTominay filling in them other games if we're talking rest, suspension, etc., etc. So you can't, no, Johnny, you can't just say F McTominay, because unfortunately, if you want Harry Kane at all costs, it means you might see McTominay play some football matches next season.
So be it. I'm not giving up on Kane. I'm not. I look at the risks, and I think it's worth the risk. I do. You know, like nobody else in world football really who's attainable can replace Harry Kane to his level, what he's providing for the team. I just think I think it'd be really naive and borderline negligent for us not to get Harry Kane. I'm sorry.
So do we not care about building the team in the manager's image anymore? Because Harry Kane is available.
But that is building the team in the manager's image.
Not if the manager wants a centre back, Amrabat, and Højlund. It's not.
Look,
it's literally not.
Listen, I'm a bit of a risk taker. I don't do this conservative bullshit, as you probably guessed. I'll go get Harry Kane, man. We'll deal with the rest.
Sure. All I'm saying is this. What if it doesn't work? And what if
it don't work?
Then guess what? Erik ten Hag's out of a job because they just spent 100 M's on Harry Kane and he failed. So then that means he's gone.
You know what it is? I think
I don't see it falling off to the degree that manager loses his job. Like, I think you're going a bit too far there.
That is exactly what happened to Ali. That's exactly what happened to Ali. It's exactly what happened to Ali.
Stop talking about these dusty people, man. He's not Ali. Listen.
Look. It's exactly what happened to Ali. You try to build a team in a manager's image, and then you usurp him by going to get somebody who is high quality, and it completely ruins the plans. And he has a fall on that. The responsibility falls on him.
I want to give a shout to NK. Because NK says it's on Spaces all the time. Big up NK. The manager finds solutions to problems. Well, that's from NK, that, and he does, and he's right. It does find solutions to problems. If we run into some problems, I think the manager has got the managerial acumen to deal with it to a certain degree, to the point that it doesn't risk his job.
So this is, look, I'll be honest with you, I've just been playing devil's advocate. This is the way I look at it, right? If Ten Hag gets to sign Højlund, Amrabat, another centre back, and a left winger, I think was the plan. I don't think we get that far. I think it ends at the centre back. I'll be honest with you. And I actually think Højlund's going to do better than people expect if he comes in by himself. That's just my opinion. I have reasons why. People will learn why when I finish watching most of his games and I do an analysis on it. But I still think there's a huge burden on the front line to score goals. So we're looking for improvement from what we already have. So more improvement from Sancho, more improvement from Anthony. I've got no issues over Rashford maintaining what he did, and we know Martial's not a factor. So Harry Kane, for me, Brian, relieves the pressure off that front line. The question mark of, can Anthony get to 15 goals all comps? Can Sancho find this? Will Højlund hit the ground running? All of those questions are put to bed with the signing of Harry Kane. And I'm comfortable taking that gamble, knowing that will secure us probably third place, if not second place. if it means we have to make do with a Kobe Mino or Scott McTominay filling in for Casemiro in the worst case scenario. And by the way, I personally don't have too much of a problem with Lindelof or Maguire as the third choice centre back. I really, really don't. If Onana's going to elevate us to the standard that people claim, you think Luke Shaw's going to have a better season since he's maintained his six-pack through pre-season, it looks, or through the summer. Martinez should have a better season. Dalot and Masaka are competing with each other, so they should be pushing each other forward. I expect Mount Bruno to do well. Eriksen is now going to have more in the tank because Mason Mount is here. I think if we're more than the sum of our parts, if not having cover for Casemiro is the worst case scenario, I'm comfortable with that just because I know we've got no pressure on the front line and Harry Kane's going to guarantee me 20 goals, 20 assists. But I think there's merit to Brian's concerns because if Harry Kane gets injured and Casemiro gets injured,
no, I get
the sentiment.
Because all of these permutations are relevant. You don't know how it's going to go. You don't know. Like at the back end of the last season. No, Johnny, you can't. No. You legislate it for building your squad correctly. That's what Brian's trying to explain to you guys. If you build your squad for what you need, as opposed to let me compensate with all this quality in one player, you won't fall foul when the worst case scenario happens.
That's literally the transfer strategy of Manchester United past. It's like, oh, this player has incredible quality. Let's just bring him in to paper over the cracks of actually having to build a squad proper. We haven't done that.
But but let's not forget this part. We're getting Højlund and Kane. So the fact that now I've got Rashford, Højlund, Kane, Anthony, Sancho, Garnacho, wild card. Who knows what type of season he's going to have. Yeah. At least I know, I'll be honest with you. I was saying this throughout the season because of bloody Baller FC hating on Casemiro and Bruno and every bloody Twitter space that I'm on. I was saying this throughout the season. The attack, they performed worse. The defense in the midfield on an individual and collective level did a better job than the attack last season. Yeah, Bruno as an individual did his job, and from a work rate point of view as a collective, him, Eriksen, Casemiro, they did better than the attack. If you had to say, what do I want from this midfield based on their quality and what they're capable of, they did what they were capable of. I look at the defense. Did the defense do what they're capable of? Yes. Did the attack? No. The attack didn't. But because people want tech, half-turn, ball carrier, no, the attack is the team. That's the aspect of the team that let us down the most last season. That's why I take the gamble on Harry Kane for me. Yep. And I'll live with it. You know me, Brian, I'm a big boy. If I know I've taken a gamble, I live with what comes with it. You know? I just don't want to see people crying foul. Oh, if only we could have did this and did that. If you want Harry Kane at all costs, just recognize it's going to affect us in other positions. Especially if Ten Hag doesn't change his ways of playing the same 11 every game. If he uses his squad better, then it's a little bit different. At home against Luton, you better be playing McTominay or Kobe. We don't need to be playing Casemiro. Stuff like that would help and mitigate against that gamble of getting Harry Kane at all costs. I'll wrap it up on that. Shout out to everybody watching. Shout out to everybody speak, because you're going to make another point when they go ahead.
I just want to say, Brian, he's definitely sticking on blackjack. He's not a twist type of guy, is he, man? It sticks.
Look, I'm seeing some ITK saying smash the like button, people. Don't know how many likes there are, but probably not enough.
Yeah, guys, smash the like button, please. Smash the like button. It's not in
subscribe as well, you bastards.
You know what? Let's keep the energy going. Let's keep the energy going.
Now, shout out to Shubs, for convincing his cousin Amrabat to join Man United, didn't it? Shout out to Shubs still.
Yo,
Shubs,
tell your cousin to fall back. Too.
Yeah. Shubs said he was on the phone to him last night. He said he's confirmed he's coming, definitely coming. Don't worry about
it. What we're gonna do next? I've been wanting to do this for a while, just waiting for the right show, and this is most definitely the right show. It's definitely the right show. Yeah, player stock list. And the idea here, I've got a select few players. Let me zoom in. Are we zooming in or zooming out? Zoom in. There we go. I think that's as far as I can go without. Yeah, here we go. Buy, sell, liquidate. Yeah, that's the objective here. In the comments, get involved. Shout out to my man Terry Fleurs, football terrorist.
Quite brutal.
If you wanna change how we list this, you got to send in a super chat. Otherwise, I'm not taking your suggestions. Shout out to my man Terry Flewers who has people doing that. Never understood how he got away with that shit. Big up to him. Best YouTuber by far. I'm gonna start with Kai Havertz and go to Johnny. So when it comes to Kai Havertz, Johnny, when it comes to Kai Havertz stock, you buying, selling, or you're gonna liquidate completely. So liquidate means he's gonna crash and burn. Done.
I mean, I'm just gonna keep it a bucky. I wouldn't have bought him in the first place to liquidate him. He would have been a non-starter completely.
Yeah.
So there's not really an option for me there because I wouldn't have bought him. So if I don't have him to liquidate, no.
Yeah, shout out to Rachel. Look at Rachel's comment. She's got a fully loaded clip for Havertz. Look at that. It's straight in.
I wouldn't have bought him. I'll be honest. I wouldn't have bought him in the first place. So he's straight on the liquidate list for. And if I was crazy enough to buy any stocks in that fucking bag of shit.
Anyone disagree with that?
Nah, that's straight. I'm the same, boy. Nah.
Yeah, I don't rate him, especially as a central midfielder. I think he's going to get destroyed this season.
He's gonna.
He looked. Did you see that season again? He looked like a fish out of water.
I feel like adding a fourth option. I feel like the only way he does well at Arsenal is if he gets a stimulus package from Martel. That's it. That's the only way. Because I don't think the player himself.
He's getting a severance.
Yeah, he's
getting a severance.
Oh, hold on, wait. Can I add another role? Wait, can you see if I can't add another role right now? I wish I could. I should have put a bailout. I should have put a bailout option on here. Yeah,
bailout option. Yeah. The
bailout.
I can see one. I can see one that I'm going to bail out on already. I can see one. So yeah.
You know when the bank. Oh, why is it? Sorry, it's changed. My bad. Why are these tiers moved? How did I do that? Let me go back down. Yeah, liquidate Kai Havertz. You know you have to bail out the banks because they've crashed and burned. Yeah. Right. But we're liquidating. I think this guy's just that £65 million move. Yeah, I think it's a wrap for him.
Dead.
Only thing that can save him is a stimulus package. Let's go to. I want to go to Dallo next and Wan-Bissaka. I'm gonna put them on liquidate and then we'll rise them up where we need them to go because I think these two are in competition again. And I'm not convinced Dallo's going to win that battle. I never was. I think Wan-Bissaka is going to keep him on his toes and actually prove Ten Hag wrong about who the better fullback is.
Do you think it depends on the type of game we're playing?
And I'm gonna put my neck on it. I'm gonna buy. I'm buying some Wan-Bissaka stock. And I'm gonna sell my Dallo stock. And I'll be honest with you, I've never gotten over watching Dallo get cooked by Dan Juma from a standing position at Old Trafford in that Ronaldo season. I was there in this Bobby Charlton stand watching, and I've never gotten over it. And since then, since he's come back from his injury, just hasn't looked the same for me. Hasn't looked the same. Wan-Bissaka, I've always felt if he could learn to apply his natural talents better.
Yes.
So
he's so physically.
The agility that he has on the ball, you can't coach. You can't coach that type of. It can be a weapon if he focuses it in the right way. I've always said he times his runs better in the final third than Dallo. For me, if he can add a cutback, at the very least, be consistent with some type of cutback, because I don't expect wide variety from Wan-Bissaka when it comes to crossing. Yeah, I think he's going to have a good season. Another thing as well, I think this thing about him at the back post is overstated. I think you see it 2-3 times a season and that's it. And trust me when I tell you, anybody bring up that Barcelona game from last season, best believe I got a file in my laptop to prove you wrong. So don't even go there with me. Anyone disagree with that? You buy or anyone disagree? Anyone want to sell Wan-Bissaka stock?
No, I agree. I agree with both.
On Dallo? Anybody? Am I wrong about Dallo? Anybody here want to buy Dallo?
Yeah, see, I don't know. I might be buying Dallo, you know.
What? Oh no, man.
Let me just wait. Just hear me out. I know someone said in the comments that Wan-Bissaka is evolving. So, you know, like they're agreeing with you, Danny, to say they don't think that Dallo's got any chance of winning this battle. I just think there's certain games that Dallo's just a better fit for the team. Honestly, I think there's some games where he brings just way more because of the type of opposition that we're playing. I don't think he's redundant. I don't think.
I would have said that pertained to Wan-Bissaka, that there's certain games that he brings more.
We agree to disagree. I think I'm not saying that Wan-Bissaka is obviously. Everyone knows I'm a big Wan-Bissaka fan, but I'm saying the competition between them both. I think someone said Wan-Bissaka is evolving. I think Dallow's also evolving. I think he's included some other elements into his game that he didn't have like the previous season. So I think he's
Like
got a
what?
case.
What?
I don't. I think generally he's more defensive than he used to be. Way more defensive. I think he's learned that part of his game. He's not mastered it, but he's definitely trying to defend more. I think he's happy to recycle more. He doesn't just needlessly bomb forward when he's got nothing happening in front of him. I think he's a bit more composed in that sense. So I think he's bringing a lot more than he used to bring. So I don't think he's redundant for me.
I hear that, Jimmy. My only I disagree on this small point, and I'll go back to what we were talking about earlier with the idea of Jadon Sancho being moved around a lot. We've seen the same thing happen with Diogo Dalot last season. He was on the right, he was playing right back, then he was playing left back. He never really solidified on either side in the fullback positions after the World Cup.
That's not his fault. That's not his fault. That's not his fault. That's not his fault.
It may not be his fault, but I agree with you. It may not be his fault, but what I think it is, I think it's just an emergence of Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and his skill sets keep Dalot out of the team. That's just what I think. Dalot can fight Malacia, but because Malacia has a lot of problems as a footballer and he's very raw, he can fight Malacia if Luke Shaw's not available. But I don't think he can win that battle with Wan-Bissaka just one against the other.
So, Johnny, I need you back because, as board members of the No Agenda podcast, we have to take a vote. The board has to vote. The board has to vote. A motion has been put forward by Jimmy not to sell Dallow's stock, and I want to vote on it. But Johnny's, we'll come back to Dalot.
No,
Johnny's back.
I'm
right. So we have to vote. All those in favor of selling Dallow's stock say aye.
Aye.
Stop. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm not changing my mind on that. I'm not changing my mind.
Sorry, man. Got to sell that stock.
I'm not changing my mind.
Let's go to Brian. Who do you want to discuss?
Let's do James Maddison.
James Maddison. I knew you would. I knew you'd pick the most interesting.
Let's do James Maddison.
Maddison one's a setup, man. It's a setup bit.
So, what are you doing with James Maddison? You gonna buy, sell, liquidate? What are we doing?
I'm buying James Maddison stock. I'm buying James. Yeah, I think.
Let's go.
Yeah, man, not since Eriksen left have I think that Spurs really had a truly competent attacking midfield. I think James Maddison adds a lot of quality to that team. I think that the link up that exists between if Harry Kane stays, between Son, Maddison, and Kane could be explosive if used properly. He adds a lot to that team. I think it's a really good signing for Spurs. So I don't see in a scenario other than just Spurs being Spurs how James Maddison couldn't succeed with what's around him compared to how well he was doing with what he had at Leicester.
I hear you. Anyone agree, disagree? What are you saying, Johnny?
Come on, man. Ball FC's alive, man. I've already got my Maddison.
Oh my God.
Already got stocks in Maddison. What are you
Shameless.
I'm doubling down. I think this guy's underrated. He's underrated. I think he's underrated. Let's see the credit that he deserves. I know a lot of that's to do with injuries, but I think he's a top player. Top player. Absolutely. Stocks are already there, man. Sat nice and cozy, watching over him every day. Big up James Maddison, man.
Jimmy, agree, disagree?
Nah, I'll agree. I like him as a player. I think he's a good player. I think he's got, he's got I think Spurs, it's a great signing for them. I think it's a really, really good signing. And I think he's one of those players that genuinely improves your team. There's no question about it. I just think the one thing to consider with Maddison, though, is who's playing with him in midfield. I think that's a really important factor. I think he's a player that, for him to be at optimum performance level, I think he relies on the other midfielder next to him to play quite well as well. So I think I don't think he's the kind of midfielder that can affect the game on his own, especially when he's playing against the top sides. I think he can unlock smaller sides quite well, but I think when he plays against teams that like to flood the midfield and dominate, I think he can struggle unless he's playing next to someone who plays quite
Yeah,
well.
just-
So I think I'm saying if you put him, for example, with Casemiro behind him, I think he flourishes. I think he plays well.
Just seen
But he's not playing with Casemiro. Look,
But I'm saying I'm buying him, but only because I think he does have good individual qualities, and I think he will improve. He will improve.
I would sell. You guys outnumber me 3-1. It's fine. You know, I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna.
I know exactly what you're gonna say.
But no, I think if Kane leaves and the burdens on him and Son, they're not going to live up to it. He's going to suffer. He'll probably get more injuries. And I know nothing about that new coach. It's a wild card. So nothing there fills me with confidence, to be honest with you.
Same.
Because when it's different, I notice when you play for Leicester, you play for Brighton and those clubs. When you're not in form, no one's talking about you.
Yeah.
In the second, even when it comes to the big football clubs, even Tottenham, for example, Kulusevski disappeared towards the back end of the season. No one said nothing. It's because you play for Tottenham. But when James Maddison leaves and Kane's not there, and people are looking at him, I think the conversation changes. And there's no guarantee Son's going to come back. I should have put Son in this list, actually.
Someone's putting Madison's a lesser baller than Bruno. Please wash your mouth out.
No, we're not doing that.
Absolutely not. No.
Bruno Fernandes, if you're talking caliber of football players, Clara Madison.
You can't even compare them. It's not even close.
Madison doesn't do what Bruno's done at Man United by himself. In the circumstances, the change of managers, who he's playing around, blah blah.
Point
blah.
I was making.
He'd basically be Johnny's new Pogba, saying if we got these two players, he looked better. Well, you know, no one makes that argument for Bruno when Bruno was Bruno. That's why I'm always suspicious about players like Madison, who, you know. Anyway, you guys have gone by, no issues there. Jimmy, who do you want to pick? Jimmy, who do you want to pick?
Don't do it, Jimmy.
I'm gonna go. Is that Rice? This is Rice, isn't it?
Yep, Rice.
Yeah, let's
Rice,
go.
baby.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go, Rice.
What do you want to do?
Sell.
You're a clown. You're a clown.
Sell the idiot. Who gets pocketed by a 12-year-old child? Come on now. 12-year-old.
It's preseason, Jimmy. It's preseason.
This boy's poor. He still has a dummy when he goes to sleep. This kid is pocketing basmati rice, bro. Come on, it's embarrassing. Sell this guy. Just based off that one performance, sell this idiot, bro. That's
one performance now.
Embarrassing.
145 FC now. Is that what we're doing?
Nah, ridiculous.
Come on,
you know what? He needs listen, but with Rice, all jokes aside, he needs to be kept. He needs to be careful how he responds to how the manager wants them to play in that midfield. He needs to be careful about that, because if he's not careful, I don't think when you watch that game, I feel like there was some elements of that game where the manager was experimenting with how far Rice can take it, and you know how far he can go up, how far he can come down, how deep he can come down. And I think he needs to have a conversation with the manager about what do you want me to do in this team, and he needs to be very clear about that, because he could end up being not so productive based on the manager's instructions. Not because I think he's a rubbish player. Of course, I'm joking about that. But I think he needs to make sure that him and the manager understand exactly what he's expected to bring to that team. Because watching that match, there was some confusion in too many moments in that game in terms of what's expected of him. And I don't think he really understood what he was expected to do in parts of that game. So he needs to be very careful about that. Of course, I'm buying him. I'm joking. He's a top midfielder, but he needs to be careful.
Buy or sell? What are we doing? Buy?
Buy. Definitely buy.
Buy? Cool. I tell you this: if they're selling Partey,
it's pressure,
and the idea is Rice.
That's a lot of pressure.
That's pressure.
And other guards, yeah, I'd be selling the stock for that season. And listen, we can always buy the stock back again, but yeah, I think Partey will likely stay. That's the smartest thing for them to do. And then
I think it would be
in
smart.
the role, he's supposed to be coming in to do what Granit Xhaka did, which he can do a lot better. That's supposed to be the plan. So I'll buy it for now, because I still think even as a 6, once he gets into it, and Arteta pushes him, challenges him to be a bit more expansive with line-breaking passes and switches of play, and when they're at full speed with Zinchenko next to him, it looks different anyway. I think people are nitpicking Declan Rice at the 6 in pre-season when the manager's experimenting. Full strength Arsenal, Timber and Zinchenko either side, the responsibility is on them. And then he actually will be the guy who's more consistent in what they're doing, where they take risks. Trust me, that dynamic will work. But Havertz will, Havertz is going to be the one to bring them down, in my opinion, not Declan Rice. I'm gonna go to. Do you want to pick a player, Johnny?
Yeah, is that Anthony that I can see?
Yeah, it's Anthony.
Yeah,
What are you doing with
Anthony.
Anthony?
Sell. Definitely sell. Borderline liquidate, but stick with sell for now.
Borderline liquid. What are we doing here?
Oh
You want to
no!
liquidate his stock already?
Yeah, I'm
Already?
not. I'll be honest. I'm not far away. I'm not far away.
Oh no!
I'll sell stock for now.
Is
Definitely
this
sell.
because of this? Is this because of the shot that he fluffed in pre-season? Be honest.
No, I just feel like-
That was bad. That was bad.
it's not just that. I just feel like again. I look at players that I believe in, or what I meant believers at. I mean, I don't believe in him. I hope I'm proven wrong. I generally mean that. Like, no agenda. I hope it proves me wrong, but at the minute, I ain't believing.
What is going on here? What are we? I thought we were having
I'm a self, Anthony. I'm a self. You can disagree if you want, but no.
Brian.
I've seen every attacker miss that shot. By the way, that preseason shot, every attacker's missed it.
It's not just his shot,
Brian,
man.
you
It's
buying or selling? You buying or selling?
On Anthony stock?
Yeah.
I'm buying him. I'm buying.
Do you mean buying?
Yeah, buying 100%.
You know what it is? I'm just going to tell people. See all these people who are onto Anthony, yeah? I'm going to tell all of you now, like I told people a year ago. If there's repetition in our play and we're switching the play to him, we're getting third man runs around him, setting up triangles and final third overloads correctly, and there's actually a striker in the penalty box with some varied movement, Anthony's going to improve. When you feed him the ball, he'll go through the motions, cut inside and shoot and annoy you, cut inside and cross and annoy you. But he'll find the overlap, he'll find the underlap, he'll cut in and find through passes, like he did for Casimo's goal against Reading and other examples where he's done that. That's the variation of his game. It's just inconsistent. I've always said he's our new Nani project, different profile of player, but in terms of the mental development, in terms of improving their decision making, that's the challenge for Anthony. And I think physically, the way I saw him battle through having no preseason, played 9 Premier League matches, missed November, had the World Cup, came back, got injured again. The fact he had the season he did, going through all of that, yeah, the way people just disrespect and underestimate this boy, I think he's going to prove you all wrong. That's a vote of 3-1. We're buying Anthony's stock. And we're going to be laughing at you guys in a year, and you're going to be copping pleas, running an agenda on another player to deflect from the fact you never had any stock or faith in this boy. The way he gets slandered by some people is just, yeah. And you know what's funny? It's just, I heard the same things from Nani. Literally, it's like I'm in a time loop living through the exact same things all over again. His decisions making bad. He shoots when he's supposed to cross. He crosses. Yeah, so you have to improve. And no doubt in my mind, he will improve. Next one, my favorite. One of my favorites. What did he used to call this guy? What was his name? The boy band member. Not Justin Bieber. What's his name?
What
do we call him? Mudrick.
Got his name now. Not Adam
One of the
McKay.
Olsen twins. But Mudrick, listen, let's liquidate. I'm putting liquidate. I'm rooting against him. I'll be honest with you. This is one of the seasons where I'm crashing it on rival players this season, like players for rival. I'm crashing it on them. I want to see Havertz flop, and I want to see Mudrick flop. Yeah, and I'm going to enjoy watching it happen. I'm speaking it into existence.
I have that feeling with Havertz. Yeah. I want to see him fall.
It's about more time. It's about time, because you know what? As Arsenal fans, you did Pepe, pause, and now you want to crash it about Anthony when you guys paid that money for Pepe. Cool. When Havertz flops, I got another one to slap on you because they just bring up Maguire, which is the trump card. But Mudrick at 100 mil, a Chelsea fan can't bring up Harry Maguire ever again, especially if they end up buying him. That would be funny. But a Chelsea fan, if he does not work out, you will never, ever be able to bring up Harry Maguire in a debate with Man United fan if this £100 million player flops. We took money laundering jokes, all of that. Like, you'll never be able to chat to us. Anyone on the board disagree? Buy, sell, liquidate. Say aye. Say aye if you agree, nay if you disagree.
Aye.
100%.
I mean, right. He's not that bad. I'm kidding. We were gonna liquidate him.
He's gone. He's got no defense lawyers present.
This next one's interesting. I'm gonna go back to you, Brian. So I think you'll set this up nice. Timber. What are we doing with Timber stock?
I'm not gonna lie. There's a part of me that's a little salty that he didn't try to come to Man United that much last season. I do think Timber's a good player, but I want Arsenal to fail, so I'm gonna sell Timber stock.
You're selling Timber stock.
I'm gonna sell Timber stock.
That's a bold call. I can't lie. That you're selling Timber. Yeah, you're gonna have to break this down. You have to break this down for me.
I'm all right. Here. You're not gonna be able to disagree with this. I've been thinking about this for a while. You ready? I'm being petty.
Mm-hmm.
That's really it. I'm just being petty. Yeah. No analysis needed. No, I think all seriousness. I think Timber's gonna have a good season for Arsenal. I really do. I think his versatility. I think he adds more than Ben White. I think he'll provide good competition for Ben White. I think he's going to be a really good addition to that team. So, but I still want Arsenal to fail.
I'm sorry. I've just seen this this comment from Rachel. Mudrick is what you get when Ellen DeGeneres.
That's part of my point I was going to make. No, it's not that one. Sorry. No,
Wow.
The Bemba's point is one of my points I was going to make.
Rachel, this is a family show. My goodness. This is a family show.
On Timber,
Oh.
I think the jury's out. I'll be honest. Does anybody here want to sell Timber stock?
I just read that.
For real. Anybody want to sell Timber stock? Anybody here want to sell Timber stock?
Buying, definitely buying.
I think that I'm going to buy the stock just because I think what he's going to do on the football is going to impress people enough. And then you'll gloss over the fact as a right back, he's probably not going to be good defensively. And you'll see similar deficiencies.
It is a fair point though about where, you know, because did he come in to play as right back or not? Is he coming in to play as
Yes.
Because I think that's really important. I think that's really important.
He's a really good player.
On the football, particularly at the Emirates, on the ball, I know what he's going to be doing. And it's going to impress people enough that even though you get some crybabies in the Arsenal fan base that will go in as Zinchenko because he can't defend, well, everybody knows that about him. That's the whole point of having someone like him. You got a net positive, but you cry in a few games you can't defend. That's the player you had. We had Patrice Evra. 3 games a season, Man United fans knew Evra's going to get caught at the back post and lose concentration.
Yeah,
but
yeah, definitely.
Did he deliver what he had to in the other games? Yes. And if you're more than the sum of your parts, you take those deficiencies from players, in my opinion.
Yep.
But yeah, we're going to buy Timber stock. Final player, Jadon Sancho. I'm going to come to you on this one, Jimmy. What are you doing with Jadon Sancho stock? You're going to buy, sell, liquidate?
Buy.
You're buying Jadon Sancho stock?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Interesting. Explain why.
Yeah, I am. And it's very, very, very specific reasons. I think when I look at our squad, you just simply cannot you can't compare him to anyone else in the team. And when I've seen I know people think he hasn't made any progress at the club, which that's a fair point, you know, depending on what you're looking at. I think he looks set to have a decent season for me, and I'm not saying that just because he played well against Arsenal or whatever. I just think there's elements in his game that I saw even back end of last season where I thought, oh, okay, he looks like he's gonna work for his place in the team, and I like to see that. And I just think he's so talented that it has to work. It just has to work. This has to work. So yeah, I'm buying everything.
Anyone disagree?
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy. You know, I realised tonight, Jimmy, never let you look after my money. Never let you look after my money. I'm selling Jadon Sancho stock.
That's fine. That's all right.
You're selling. You're going to sell Jadon Sancho stock, Johnny. Explain why.
One game's not enough to convince me that.
I just said it's not because of the game.
One game's not enough to convince me that buying stock. I'm not liquidating him, but I'm definitely selling. I hope he gives me confidence going down the line to reinvest in him. But right now, I'm selling some stock, man, just because I've got to, keep myself covered.
Johnny's really thinking about his bank balance, so he's not playing around. Brian, what's your thought?
Nice. He's keeping his purse strings tight. He's keeping his purse strings tight.
Oh gosh.
I've never seen you stuck. Never, ever.
I know where this is going.
I have never seen you stuck. What is going on? What's Sancho done to your brain? Jesus.
Look, man, I don't think Jadon Sancho is willing to die for the shirt. I really don't. And that's one of my biggest sticking points with him. Like, I feel like he just doesn't work as hard as I'd like him to. You know what I mean? He just doesn't work as hard as I'd like him to. But at the same time, he didn't have a horrible season. All things considered, last year he didn't have a horrible season.
No.
You know what? Okay, you know what? For this season, I'm buying Jadon Sancho stock.
For the last
For
2
this
years,
season.
Get in, my guy,
For
my
this
G.
season.
for the last 2 years, he's looked like a polar bear in Texas. I'll be honest.
For Johnny, man. No, man. For this season, I'm buying Jadon Sancho stock. I want to see. He started well, and relatively speaking, he did. I mean, he ended pretty well last season for the most part. So, like, I just want to see more consistency from him. I'm buying Jadon Sancho stock for this season.
Okay, that's 2-1 so far. I don't have an option for anything in between buying or selling because you need to just you need to be cutthroat there. There's no playing around.
There's no keep.
I could have put a hold in there, but I didn't want to. But as you know, the owner and chief executive of the No Agenda, I can overrule the board when I need to.
Where's the democracy? Where's the democracy, man? We're voting.
It's tricky. It's tricky.
You can't be serious
Really, really
enough, Daniel, to buy stock, man.
But I got to be. I'm with Johnny. I'm going to sell Jadon Sancho stock.
Okay.
And the reason why is because I think this false nine thing is wasting his time, and I think Anthony's his man on the right wing. I'm referring to Ten Hag. And when I look at the dynamics of what I think his strongest first 11 is going to be, and then what permutations we might see in terms of players being versatile and playing different positions, if false nine is the plan A in pre-season, plan B is the bench when the season starts.
Yeah.
That's the plan B for him. Like, plan A is Rashford starting. As far as I'm concerned, plan A will be Højlund starting. Whether people look at 9 goals and see 20 years old. When Ten Hag, to shout out Mr. T, shout out Mr. Ton. When Ten Hag gets his striker, he's going to play his striker. He got Workhorse, played him like 20 games in a row. Yeah. So he's going to play his striker. You may not be comfortable with that because of his age, but the manager looked at Kane. We've discussed that already. He identified Højlund for a reason. He's going to play. I think Højlund and Rashford at A or B in any direction don't matter. Then I think Rashford is still technically plan A for the left wing. So Sancho's what, plan B, plan C with Garnacho? Plan B, plan C when Anthony's not fit. I don't think Jadon Sancho is going to thrive in those circumstances. That's the problem. Like, I think that he's somebody the manager needs to put faith in and say, you're going to play 5 games in a row, even if you have a bad game. I had to wait.
Address that question.
Hold on, Jimmy. I had to wait all the way, I think, until March or April to see Ten Hag not remove him after an hour. Every time, you know, he just removed him after an hour. He'd never let him push through the game to get to 90 minutes. So, I'm sorry. I have to be honest. It's not just about the player and what he needs to overcome. It's whether or not the manager is going to give him the best opportunity to succeed. I don't think he's going to. And for that reason, I'm selling Jadon Sancho stock.
See DF's question, Danny. Address that.
Whose question?
Why is the assumption that Ten Hag will live or die by Anthony?
He spent 90 million.
Spent so much money on him.
Most managers that spend that type of money on a player, especially when the player's played for them before, yeah, they usually live and die by that player. Also, another thing as well is that last season he showed me that. Right? Anthony's allowed to have a 5-game spell. If he plays badly, he's going to start the next game. That's not the case for Sancho. I've seen Sancho have 2 decent games, like I mentioned before, and end up on the bench against West Ham.
Yeah.
That's not happening. If Anthony puts in 2 6s, Ten Hag's going to give him a chance to give him a 7 in the next game. And Anthony usually will give you a 7 in the next game. Yeah. They maybe have so it's the only route to success I see for Sancho is I still see Anthony as somebody who's going to have 1 injury in the season. But again, if Ten Hag starts doing things like I'm going to play Mount there or Bruno there, these are the permutations. There are permutations that stop Jadon Sancho getting 6-7 games in a row, 90 minutes, no matter what, independent of form in the lineup. So you're telling me the challenge for Sancho is in the limited opportunities he gets left or right wing, he has to catch fire.
Impress every time.
Yeah, poison chalice. It's a poison chalice for him. That's why I'm selling the stock. And get over your feelings. Not everything is about rating a player. This is the No Agenda podcast. We've actually got reasons to put forward as we think as to why a player might succeed or might not, independent of his talent. It's about the circumstances. Simple as that. If he's playing in left wing all preseason, I'd be buying Jadon Sancho stock. If he was playing in right wing all preseason, I wouldn't buy the stock because he did that last preseason and put Anthony there anyway. Don't forget these things. Your manager played him right wing with Dalot. They built a rapport in preseason. He gets Anthony. Your manager changes that dynamic. You have to look at what Ten Hag is showing you. So I've rambled on. Anything else you want to add, Johnny or Jimmy or Brian?
No, I'm good, man. I'm good. Just shout out to everyone who's in audience, man. And please subscribe and give the video a like and subscribe to Daniel's channel and support the boys, please.
You know already, smash the like button, hit the notification bell. I think we might stick to the 8 p.m. time. Seems to suit for people looking at the people watching at the moment. Let us know in the comments if you prefer the 8 p.m. as well. I suspect it's going to be popular if we stick with this time. What I want to do though, very, very quickly, I don't know if I want to. I do want to discuss Onana deal and the Athletic article. In fact, I will share it. Let's do it. I've got just a tiny bit amount of brain power left. I'm sharing the wrong screen though. Apologies. Stuck on Y Scout. I thought the article in the Athletic about the Onana deal was really, really interesting. It gave us insight into how things are working at Manchester United this summer. The first thing I'll point out, can you guys actually see?
Yeah.
Not really. Yes. Yeah, I can now. Oh, yeah, I can now.
All right. This makes it harder for me to scroll to where I want to, though, so bear with me. The first thing I wanted to point out was Hargreaves. So Matt Hargreaves, the new chief negotiator, he started in June because he was on gardening leave from Adidas. Mm-hmm. So he didn't do the Mason Mount contract, right? That's the first thing that sort of stood out to me. And that's why I didn't want to zoom in like this because it's going to be hard for me to, he would earn that much. Okay, there we go. Here it is here. So the fine-tooth comb extended on his personal terms, which are overseen by Matt Hargreaves, United's new head of negotiations. For Hargreaves, who started work in June. So he started in June. So that tells you we really did have Mason Mount in the bag in May. Personal terms were agreed. He was in the bag from May. So that shows you how the groundwork we did behind the scenes to get Mount done. Because what this article is saying is the first contract Matt Hargreaves worked on was Onana, not Mason Mount. What's interesting about this, if you've read this whole article, this is what Hargreaves is there to do. So we're going to get into the hierarchy. So when it comes to the player contract, negotiating with the agent, the chief negotiator, Matt Hargreaves, is doing that job. So let's note that down. Another thing I liked about the article, how good is your memory? So I think it was Corella, either one of the Gazettas or one of those Italian outlets. They said initial contact was with, I forget his name, Man United's director of operations. So what they did is they went on Google, they found the title because they knew someone from Inter met someone at Man United, but they got the name wrong. That's why I was suspicious about Onana to begin with. But the person he actually met, because it's here in the article, is I think it's Steve Harrison, if I'm not mistaken. Steve Brown, head of recruitment. But if you go back to that Gazzetta article, they got the wrong name because they don't know who does what at Man United. And there are a lot of assumptions about who does what at Man United based on the titles. This article is giving you insight into Man United's hierarchy. So what I like here is with the agent who was originally working on the deal, who established first contact, what Man United have done is said, you'll talk to head of recruitment first. Clear chain of command. So original contact, actually, Ten Hag and Onana's agents directly call. That's all nice. But now you talk to the club. You start with the head of recruitment. You don't get to Richard Arnold first. You don't get to John Murtaugh first. You get to head of recruitment first. Then as things develop, if you read through the article, so many intermediaries. Saricha, it's Morris guy, different firms, CCA based with Man United, and even between Man United and Inter, originally we're using this company called CAA base between that. But what I like here is, again, it's the hierarchy. It's initial talks, you speak to head of recruitment. When it comes to club, it's director of football to director of football, which you see here. John Murta, an Intersporting director, Asulio, and the two executives had a meeting in Milan. Right? So I like that. Initial talks, agent, go speak to the head of recruitment first. Agencies operate in between. That's what it's alluding to here. CSA Base HC were involved, used by United and Inter in the club-to-club talks. Then, director of football to director of football. There's another part of the article that people like to deny because it doesn't help their agendas against the football stuff that I want to get to. Sorry, guys, I have to scroll through. My bad. I will get there. This is really, really important. Really, 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 really important. It's referring to the financing of the deal and how Man United had to go through the finance department. Is that part I want to get to. It's really, really tricky. Originally talking about Dumfries. It's a really, really big article. I really don't want to go through.
You guys should read it. Share the article, Danny, if you can share the
a
link.
lot of people, they've seen this on Twitter already, the Mike Manigan thing. I posted that on my Twitter account. So
oh, did you? Yeah. Because it's a great article. It's a good, well-written article. Really good.
While I'm finding this, Brian, what stood out to you about the article? What was your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, I thought that piece of the article really stood out to me was the conversation about the finance department. We've talked several times over the course of the summer about the limited amount of funds that Manchester United have at their disposal at the moment when the budgets were released, and how Laurie Whitwell seemed to he basically told us that Man United were having to penny pinch every step of the way to make sure that they didn't breach anything when it came to this deal. I mean, it was like they were having to get 1 mil and 2 mil signed off on. Like, can we give them another million here? Can we give them another 2 million here? They had to all of those types of discussions had to go through the finance department to even get to the next step. I found that bit here. Yeah.
He wanted Onana on the flight to New York for United's pre-season tour, and he exhibited frustrations at the delays he pressed for progress in relation to Ten Hag. But inside Old Trafford, each incremental shifting of the dial, another 1 million here, an extra 2 million here, was passed through the finance department. And the reason why this is important, I've never, ever seen Laurie Whitwell write this in an Athletic article about Man United before. And for 2 years now, maybe longer, I've been telling certain people, this is how your football club operate, and it goes in one ear, out of the other. This is inconvenient for them to recognize when judging the football department and the recruitment department and the constraints they're under with this football club. Every million, an extra 2 million here, passed through the finance department with oversight by Chief Executive Richard Arnold to see if United can make the numbers work.
Yeah. And so it gives context. It gives context. Yeah.
People want to attack the finance guys. Yeah. How is it the fake finance guys? I'm not even a finance guy, by the way, but shout out to Joe. How is it we knew Man United were operating this way before a journalist has explicitly said it? You cannot find any Athletic journalist using this type of language and explaining this in this way. But we've been able to figure this out because we understand what type of organization Manchester United is. And a lot of our fan base don't understand what type of organization we are. We're an organization that when the football director is negotiating between 1 million and 2 million, have to pass it to the finance department to look through.
It's crazy.
That is how Man United operate.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah? That's why it takes so long to do deals. And it also gives context to the fact that when the price for Onana was agreed, it still took time for the deal to officially be confirmed, because Man United were still having to penny pinch along the way. And I think there was even a part of the article where it was stated that there's a conversation to be had too about how Manchester United are acting. They're not allowing people to bully them in the transfer market to get more money out of them anymore, because Laurie Whitwell explicitly stated that Inter were getting frustrated with Man United's slow, methodical pace, 1 million here, 2 million here, that they actually invited Chelsea to the table to push Man United quicker, and Chelsea said no, which allowed Man United to hold all the cards and say, you're going to wait on us to give you the money because you need to sell. So we
I
had
found interesting as well.
We had enter exactly where we wanted them. It was great. It was well done by the club.
And it even says within the article, from our own point of view, we can literally relate it to Inter. We have to consider our FFP. So we're saying it in the negotiation. We're going to get back to you on the add-ons because we need to consult. So that's what caused these delays. You're referring to, obviously, Joe Glazer. By Sunday night, a resolution on Onana was in sight, but it took another 24 hours for the deal to be finally sealed, with Joe Glazer operating on US time, needed for a sign-off, right? And then, funny enough, the flip side is that Inter started delaying things after we signed off. They started delaying things. So delay on both sides, gamesmanship from both sides.
Yeah.
But it's this part. Yeah. All those people mocking and disrespecting people because they want to talk football finance and explain how Man United operate as a PLC. Again, you could not find Laurie Whitwell or any Man United journalist using this language explaining this bit here before this article dropped. And yet we've been saying this in Spaces for 6-9 months. Inside Old Trafford, each incremental shifting of the dial, another 1 million here, an extra 2 million there, was passed through the finance department. And I've been telling people for 2 years now, this is how your football club operates. When you're slandering football staff, consider who they're working with and the organization they work with. Stop telling me you go get an outsider, and the outsider who's never worked for an organization like this, who put 1 million through the finance department. You think PSG are putting 1 million through the finance department to comb over? You think PSG or Real Madrid are putting 2 million in their finance department when they're going into negotiations, when their football people are trying to be mobile and have the fluidity to negotiate deals on the ground in real time? No, it's, oh, you want 2 million? We're going back to the finance department, coming back with an offer, an incremental change, going back to the finance department. Your organization is set up this way from the top. Yeah. This is how the Glazers have set up their company. It's not Arnold's fault. It's not Darren Fletcher's fault. It's not Murtaugh's fault. It's not Ten Hag's fault. It's not the scouts' fault, who none of you guys even respect enough to even know what they do and who they are. This is how Man United run as a football club. All the football department can do is get their ducks in a row, get to the players early, convince them, make sure they know who their targets are, their plan A and their plan B and plan C, and then navigate how the club is run to get the deals done. And I think this summer, that's what we're seeing. These guys know how to navigate the Glazers because they've worked in this organization.
No, it is, Daniel.
Go
I feel
ahead,
like club of Man United's status or stature and revenue shouldn't have to fucking be, excuse my language, have to check for 1 or 2 million. That should be.
No, Johnny, but Johnny, it's not about the status.
Yeah,
it's not about the status.
No, but
it's
I mean,
about
like
how. But Johnny, it's just because of how we're set up as a company.
I know that's what I'm saying, but which is
it's just, you know what it is, Johnny. It's just, it's financial compliance. That's all it is. It's financial compliance.
I wouldn't expect like a club of Man United, like when John Murtaugh or this guy was doing contract negotiations, to be weary of sort of okay an extra 2 million. That should be able to be done. A club of our size, in my opinion, like that should be light work for us. That should be like obviously we have so much revenue. I don't see why 1 or 2 million should have to be like checked to see if we can afford it or see if it can
Johnny,
be.
I'll put it to you like this, because unlike some people, you're actually open and honest and will rather just deflect because of your ego. You'll actually be honest. Before you saw this, did you think when the director of football's in negotiations, if there's a change, we want an extra 2 million, in real time, on the ground, even if there was a half of an hour tea break, he'd be able to think about it himself, go back in and say yes or no? Is that how you imagined it worked?
That's how I'd expect it to work, but no, because I know the Glazers. No, how would I explain this? I think that's how I in an ideal world visioned it to be able to work. And I've always said I've always said on Spaces, like, why negotiations take so long? Just get it fucking done. But I think it's me and a lot of other fans as well, really not knowing the inner intricacies of our football club and how it operates. Because I'm not surprised by reading this doesn't surprise me. Like, I'm not shocked. I'm like,
no, but do you get it now? Why Joe, and why I mess with Joe and we do those spaces trying to explain to people how the company works, right? How the business is set up. why there's this type of compliance,
Yeah.
right? And why it delays certain things. Because all people do
Yeah,
is they
yeah,
make
makes
fun,
sense.
they take jab, they say, no, I'm a grown up. I'm damn near 40. I don't do murder madness. I do common sense. If I know somebody who's working in an organization has to pass 1 million or 2 million through his finance department, rather than being able to say yes or no in real time on the ground while he's there or while he's talking on the phone, right? How can I crash it on him? Only person you only crash it on that guy if, sorry, Johnny, if you're, I don't even know what to call you. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to be rude, innit? There's no agendas. Try to do things a little bit different here. But people who don't recognize the constraints that the football staff are working under frustrate the hell out of me. They're just agenda driven, have big egos. Hold on, Johnny. Prejudge these people before they took their jobs and just look for anything to say they're doing a bad job. Yeah. And tell you and convince you somebody else will do better. Whoever that somebody else is, you don't know if they've worked in a, hold on, Johnny. You don't know if they've worked in an organization where just 2 million has to go through the finance department. You don't know if they have. Go look at Christian Vibel. Why has he left Chelsea? He's left Chelsea because they're not set up like Leipzig. Leipzig was set up well for him. He goes to Chelsea, it's set up differently. There's two people with more power. When he got there, that was not the case. He got there before those two with more power. The goalposts have moved. He's in an organization that's not like Leipzig. He doesn't have power. It's not the job he expected. So he's leaving. That's why I keep telling people, whenever they don't like something at Man United, they invoke a better director of football would do this. You don't know that because you don't know how this director of football would react if they had to work in this organization.
The Murtaugh out think that if a Louis Campos came in or a Paul Mitchell or the usual sort of popular names, they'll be able to come in here and just swing the weight and do what they want. What I think, what I would expect, like what I was saying before, I would expect a club of Man United size and revenue income that the people that are on the ground they would be given the okay by the Glazers, like predetermined that listen. You've got a 5 to 10 million leeway. Yeah, you've got a certain amount of leeway that you can go to without pre-approval. Like you can just do it. Anything over, I don't know, 7.5 million to 10 million. Anything like once you hit the 5 million barrier, you've at least got a little bit of wiggle room where you don't have to, come back to us straight away. One, it means you're not getting back. I'm not getting phone calls every 2 minutes trying to approving payments. And two, you can just operate a little bit more independently. Obviously, if it goes to a certain part of negotiation where they want to go 10 million higher, then I understand you get in touch with me. But up until that point, you've got some wiggle room. The fact that they can't do that and they're having to go to Joe Glazer for 1 million or 2 million, I think it's quite ridiculous.
I'll be Danny. I'll be honest though. Even when it's clear as day, black and white, the way we're seeing it now, this is how our club operates. Because when you've made this analogy before, Danny, where people think that Man United's failures have all been because the staff have been rubbish, and that's just not the case. The organization is set up in a way that some people that have been there have been competent enough. It's the structure of the organization, how we operate, that makes them fail at their jobs. Now, the sad thing about this is, even when it's clear in black and white like this, Manchester United fans won't care about this. They'll still crush it on these guys that are trying to do their job as best as they can with the constraints of the setup that they're working with. People still won't give a shit. People won't care. They can see it. They can read it in black and white. They still will not care. It doesn't matter to people. They just want to crush it.
I'll put it to you like this. If they have to pass 1 to 2 million through the finance department for approval, what do you think they have to do for 40 to 50 million?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, imagine trying to so raising the bid from 35 to 45, that means that 10 million difference, we have to go back to the finance department.
Yep.
They can't do that.
That's probably a tough conversation for them over there. That's probably a tough conversation over there.
Yeah. And that's why if you look at the article, that's why you look at, like, you can understand how talks, Lloyd Whitwell even went as far as to say that things were so challenging talks-wise between the two clubs that the deal almost died. Like at one point, the deal almost died. Like both clubs almost left the table. And then even when it got to the point of talking about Onana's contract, I think there were two people that were kind of helping talk to the club about how much Onana would get paid. And there, at one point, somebody was trying to say to Onana, like, hey, or trying to say to Manchester United, like, he's going to completely change the way that you play. Therefore, you should pay him on par with some of your highest paid players. The chief negotiator was saying you should be giving him money on par with your highest paid players, and Manchester United weren't having it. They weren't moving. They didn't budge because they're like, we have to mind our FFP. We have to push all these things through the proper channels. Like, this is like, give credit to the people working for Manchester United under the current circumstances, because they've set targets for prices for both transfer fees and salaries for the players that they've looked at, and they stayed within those lines this summer, and we're still in the market for players. Like, they've done an incredible job with what they've been given the circumstances.
And
like,
I tell you what,
people really should give
to get
credit.
Onana for that price after
Crazy.
that Champions League, put him at a higher.
It's crazy. It's mental.
Probably after that performance, you could probably say he's worth more. But to get that deal done at that price with that many people involved, his agent, two independent agents, and two other agencies, so 5 different parties.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And football fans wonder why. Like, they think this football business is not easy. The very few, there's less than 1% of football clubs make it look seamless, and there's a reason why. It's just, it's not easy.
Don't you think it's interesting though, Danny, that Onana's, like, because obviously in the article it tells you that Onana was found out that Manchester United were genuinely interested. There was solid interest, and a bid was imminent before the Champions League final game.
Yes.
So that final game now feels like an audition, doesn't it? Like a proper audition, because
yes,
you know,
a great point.
The confirmation of the interest was happened before the final. So you see that and you think, oh right, he wanted to come to Manchester United.
I love Lloyd Whitwell's. He as a Manchester United supporter that Lloyd Whitwell is, he slid this in there. He slid
that in there.
He slid but another thing he slid in there. He said on Onana's mind is getting retribution against Manchester City for what they did to him in the Champions League final. Like, he said like he wants revenge against them.
Yeah,
so like
absolutely.
like he's just sliding that into to be like, not only did Manchester United get a proper goalkeeper, but just like the mentality of the player, what he's gonna bring, just in terms of pulling on the shirt, is gonna be something that fans are going to fall in love with. Like, forget his footballing.
I bet Pep regrets his comments. I bet Pep regrets his comments. He regrets saying all those things about Onana a bit. I'm telling you. He won't be happy watching that.
And it also gives a little bit of context too towards the end of the deal, when Onana seemed to be, he was like, here's the picture of me at my last dinner in Milan. Here's a picture of me doing my medical in Paris, before anything had been announced, because Inter were stalling. Onana knew he was going, and he was just he was like, look, I'm leaving. Like, let's just go ahead. It's almost as if Onana was like trying to, despite the fact that talks had like stalled a little bit, it's almost as if Onana himself was trying to reassure Manchester United fans, like, hey, I'm coming. Like, I'm still coming. Don't worry about it. Like, we're doing this thing here. Medical's happening here. I mean, he had issues with his visa. The one pilot didn't want to fly at a certain time of night because he had been overclocked that day, which delayed his flight. There was like a whole bunch of scenarios that kind of led.
I mean, just looking at this deal, it's a very, very complex deal. I mean, the way this deal worked is extremely complex, really, really complicated. Yeah. I've never known 2 different independent agents involved in a deal. I've never ever known that before. That's the first time I've ever heard that.
That's pretty normal. Like, it varies from player to player. And then this is why as well, like, when some clubs, not all clubs, when some clubs go to South America, and you're dealing with this many parties, this party owns 10% of the image rights, that party owns 35%. Some football, especially a club like Man United, who's on the stock market. So if Man United, for example, were to go to South America, purchase image rights from 2 different parties, and one of those payments was to the wrong account in the wrong country, we're finished. We're finished. For a private company, the ramifications are different. For us on the stock market, huge ramifications. So they avoid those things. Yeah. That's why it's the organization. In any case, look, it's been a good show. Salute to you, Jimmy, Bryant, Johnny, who's off camera right now. Everybody watching and listening, smash the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. We'll be back again next week, and hopefully, when we're having that conversation next week on No Agendas, Hoyland's a Man United player.
Hoyland's a Man United player.
Getting close.
I'm
What
hoping to take
what are
that
we
from-
saying? What are we saying out of 10? Would you by the time we do No Agendas next week? What are we saying out of 10? Hoyland to Man United. He's saying 9, done.
I'm
10.
hoping it takes a few days longer because I still need to. I've got more games to watch with him. I don't know if I've got enough time this week, so we'll see. Though I think he'll be here before after the tour. So we've got 2 games in August. I think he'll be here for those 2 games, basically, which is the plan. He's not going to go to, even if he signed today, they're not flying him out to the US for 2 games. It's not going to happen.
No.
So yeah, he'll be here for the August matches, in my opinion, which is fine.
Shout out to the audience, man, for the support, the continued support, man. Big up to everyone.
No,
Thank you for
big up,
supporting.
man. There's some regulars in here, man. Some proper regulars in here. It's good
We're
to
back
see you guys.
back every week supporting us. So thank you very much to every single one of you. Big up to man.
And make sure you share the stream as well. Make sure you do that. But again, you can see our Twitter handles there. Make sure you're following everybody on Twitter. But yeah, that's all.
Guys, smash the like, please. The number of people watching and the number of likes doesn't coincide. Please make sure you're hitting the like button. Please smash the like, smash the like.
Especially if you're watching this after the live. But yeah, we'll catch you guys again on the next episode. Peace.
Big up.
Yeah.